COVID-19 cases rise by 296 new infections with 6 new deaths. President Buhari tables plans to lift 100 million Nigerians out of poverty over the next 10 years. In international news, fire destroys the largest migration camp in Greece. And in sport, Cristiano Ronaldo passes 100 goals for Portugal.
This is ANN News.
I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Nigeria added 296 new cases to its COVID-19 total infections on Tuesday, raising the total tally to 55,456. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control says 103 recovered patients have been discharged and 6 new deaths were also recorded. Of the 14 states and the Federal Capital Territory that shared the new cases, Plateau recorded the highest number of 183 infections, while Lagos far behind with 33 cases. The Federal Capital Territory recorded 25 new cases and Ogun checked in with 16 new infections. More than 43,000 recoveries have been confirmed. Fatalities stand at 1,067. President Muhammadu Buhari has reaffirmed his government's determination to lift 100 million Nigerians out of poverty over the next 10 years. He gave the assurance in its closing remarks on Tuesday at the ministerial retreat in Abuja. The president said Nigeria has the wherewithal to, quote, weather the storm of its current challenges. He also assured Nigerians his government will work to close the gap among the different classes of people in society. The president said the few days of the retreat had been spent examining the government's many policies, programs and projects aimed at uplifting Nigerians from poverty and to protect their lives and property. He said the programs will also ensure equitable distribution of the country's wealth. The president said the success of the various programs and projects would bring joy to a greater number of Nigerians. Former federal lawmaker Shehu Sani has condemned the killing of the most wanted criminal in Benue State. Sani says it was wrong to have killed Touchless Akwase after surrendering to the army. The military said Akwase, also known as GANA, was killed during a gun battle with soldiers on Tuesday. Commander of 4 Special Forces Command in Doma, Nasarawa State, Major General Mundi Ali, says GANA was killed at a roadblock the soldiers had mounted. Ali said 40 armed members of GANA'S gang were also captured during the operation. He says several rifles, pump-action guns, ammunition, charms and explosives, among with other items, were seized from the gang. Agriculture, along with other essential industries in Nigeria, have been severely affected by safety measures imposed in the fight against the coronavirus pandemic since March. One agricultural group, the tomato growers, are looking to the government for support to boost production now that the economy is gradually reopening. Correspondent Kelechi Mekalam reports.
Cultivating tomatoes. It started out as a passion for Shedrack, a graduate of botany, but for nearly half a decade it has become his main income earner. He harvests 60 to 70 baskets of tomatoes every week from his half-hectare farm. When prices are up, a basket could sell for about $8. But with the COVID-19 pandemic teeming with erratic rains, harvests have been poor this year. This has induced inflation and scarcity of this all-important food in Nigerian homes.
It's quite lucrative because it sends something down to the account.
Like many tomato farmers in Nigeria, Shedrack aims to expand production of the staple food. However, several factors like poor infrastructure are hampering his dream.
There are a lot of challenges. One, we have issues of capital, and then the market, in the sense that the market tends to be poor with the importation of tomato paste from other countries. And apart from that, we also have issues of bad road, in the sense that like we that are in this region, you find out that the roads are very bad, in the sense before you get your goods down to the market or to where you can sell, some of them will have already spoiled.
According to a 2018 report by PricewaterhouseCoopers, Nigeria is Africa's second largest producer of tomatoes, producing 2.3 million tons annually. But this is not enough, and the West African nation is forced to spend $360 million on the importation of tomato paste every year, making it the third largest importer of the commodity that is viewed as a must-have in Nigeria's culinary repertoire.
Local production is not enough to meet the demand, that is even the local demand of tomatoes. That is why in times past, Nigeria has had to rely on those coming in either from the ports or from our land borders. That is the simple reason why we are the second highest producers in Africa, and yet we still have to import. Other measures, apart from restrictions of the land borders, is to do more. Restrictions of the border is a good thing, particularly for us local farmers. It means that there's more work for us to do to be able to meet the local demand and hopefully eventually to be able to export to other countries.
The federal government's been making effort to reduce tomato imports and boost local production. The central bank has already placed tomatoes on the foreign exchange restriction list alongside other staple foods like maize, rice and poultry products. Players in the agricultural sector are looking to government for more support to boost production and develop infrastructure for better storage and processing of tomatoes.
Coming up, African stories. Sudanese citizens in South Sudan look forward to returning home now that a new peace deal is in place. And later, international news. Fire destroys the largest migration camp in Greece.
You are watching ANN.
This boy, I could tell your mama for you.
I go tell your mama for you.
Just wait, I go tell your mama for you. Make you wear your mask. If not, I go tell your mama.
Whether in your house, at your office, on your phone or online, we are there. We have the facts behind the headlines. We cut to the chase with the news you really need. We cover every angle. We are the bigger, better news network. We are African News Network. ANN. Watch ANN News on MITV from a truly African spirit.
For some years now, many of the millions of Sudanese citizens who fled to Sudan to avoid civil war have been living in a United Nations camp in South Sudan and many more in Uganda. The newly signed peace deal back home, the Sudanese refugees say they feel secure enough and are looking forward to returning home. Respondent Patrick Oyet has the story.
Ali Adam is a Sudanese businessman who has lived in Juba for the past 11 years. He says he is happy that peace is now returning to Sudan.
We want Sudan to develop. Without peace, without unity, without forgiving each other, we cannot achieve any development in our country, Sudan. We are now happy that peace is coming. All will be fine.
The peace deal signed in Juba is expected to end 17 years of conflict that displaced hundreds of thousands of people from Sudan. Many Sudanese living in South Sudan are hopeful that the recently signed deal will allow them to go back to their homeland. Mediators say they are hopeful that total peace will return to Khartoum.
Those who have not signed the peace agreement are also for peace. They have a different idea on how the security arrangements should be, but they have been with us throughout the negotiations. They never left Juba. I believe that all groups are for peace. I believe those who are not yet part of the agreement will join soon.
The Sudanese peace agreement dictates that opposition armed groups be integrated into Sudan's armed forces. It also addresses the issue of power sharing to deal with grievances of those who felt that they were politically marginalized. The displaced can also return home.
The Sudanese government under former President Omar Hassan al-Bashir was at war with various rebel groups. Many of them say they were fighting for infrastructural development in their regions and political representation.
The current peace deal still does not mean the war has ended. Two rebel groups are still rejecting it. They are demanding the creation of a secular state in Sudan rather than an Islamic state. They are also rejecting the integration of their troops into Sudan's armed forces for at least 20 years. Sudan's government says it is engaging the groups in negotiations in Ethiopia.
We're ready to have discussions with groups who did not sign the peace deal. We want to address concerns of all groups in Sudan. We want the problems of the Nuba Mountains and Darfur to be resolved so that there is total peace in Sudan.
Some Sudanese refugees had been sentenced to death in absentia during the time of former President Omar al-Bashir, but are now free to return to Sudan. Ali Adam says now he has established himself in Juba. He might not return to Khartoum permanently, but he says he is happy he can now go and see his family and return without being concerned about his security.
Uganda is introducing every technology and protocol it can muster in the fight against coronavirus pandemic. The latest is a touchless hand washing kit that has been purposely developed to limit contact with surfaces while ensuring diligent hand hygiene. It is an innovation by a Mikel University alumni. Correspondent Hilary Asiga tells us more.
As the campaign against the COVID-19 pandemic continues across Uganda, these scientists are promoting a new way of safely washing hands at Kasubi Market in the capital Kampala.
No touch, wash properly without bothering the time or what, these things of singing, getting the soap, required amount of soap, required amount of water in a smart way, responsive, that it can communicate with you in the sense that you do not know how to wash hands properly.
The solar-powered machine has been fitted with the sensors that dispense water and soap when a user places his hands under the tap. During the process, the machine records details of how many people have washed their hands. Promoters of this technology say it is timely and effective in the fight against the pandemic. According to the data collected every day, about 3,000 people wash their hands using this improved technology. And the public is upbeat about the new technology.
When transacting with money, you can easily contract coronavirus. But with this machine, when you touch the money, you wash your hands.
Kampala metropolitan area has recorded an over 50% spike in cases in the last 1 month. The health ministry says people have stopped taking safety measures like washing hands and sanitizing seriously.
In the markets, people are not wearing masks. There are no hand washing facilities, meaning Ugandans forgot where we came from. And unless we return to our initial determination and commitment to prevent COVID, the numbers will continue to increase.
This team of engineers has so far installed 30 machines around the capital Kampala, but they are not enough.
If the government could do something regarding these machines and put especially in markets, because markets is where we have so many people, I will tell you this COVID issue will be no more.
The project is funded by the government of Uganda, Makerere University, and 2 companies from the United States of America at a cost of $30,000 US. The engineers say that if they get more funding, they will be able to roll out the service to other parts of the country and help more people avoid getting COVID-19.
The Namibian government has announced further easing of the coronavirus restrictions for international tourists to prevent a collapse of the tourism sector that has been hard hit by the COVID-19 pandemic following the closure of its borders in March. In rules introduced in July, tourists had to quarantine at their first destination for 7 days. That didn't sit well with tourists who cancelled their visits in large numbers. The Tourism Ministry now says tourists could go to their pre-booked destinations and participate in activities up to 5 days, after which they will be tested for the virus. If they stay at their pre-booked destination for fewer than 5 days, they would be able to proceed to another destination without a test. The ministry says there has been 0 new bookings since the beginning of the month. To worsen the situation, nearly $7 million in cancellations has been recorded. When we return, international news. Fire destroys largest migration camp in Greece. And later, sport. Cristiano Ronaldo passes 100 goals for Portugal.
You are watching ANN.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. The largest migration camp on the island of Lesbos in Greece has been destroyed by fire. 25 firefighters with 10 engines battled the flames as migrants from the Moria facility were evacuated. Some suffered injuries from smoke exposure. It is unclear how the fire began, but some officials blame the migrants while others faulted Greek locals. Thousands are now displaced and without accommodation, and authorities are struggling to shelter them. The government has declared a 4-day state of emergency. German Foreign Minister Heiko Maas has called the blaze a humanitarian disaster. Moria is home to 13,000 persons, more than 4 times its official capacity. Info Migrants reports about 70% of persons in the camp were from Afghanistan, but migrants from more than 70 different countries lived there. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has announced tougher lockdown restrictions on social and public gatherings, which are now restricted to 6 persons as the country tries to control a resurgence of COVID-19 infections. The new measures take effect next Monday and carries fines for violators. COVID-19 infections in the UK have begun to rise again as more than 2,400 cases were confirmed on Tuesday. Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland, which together make up the United Kingdom, set their own respective lockdown policies. The government is afraid of the resurgence of the outbreak despite widespread testing and low hospital admissions. The new rules will not apply to workplaces or schools, and there will be exemptions for weddings, funerals, and some organized team sports. Jordan has recorded its first COVID-19 cases as 2 persons are confirmed positive in the Al-Azraq camp for Syrian refugees. United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees says the 2 patients were transferred to quarantine facilities after testing positive late Monday, and their neighbors have been isolated as more testing is carried out. UNHCR spokesman Mohammed Al-Wari says the camp hospital has 14 beds designated for patients with COVID-19, but officials are concerned the virus could easily spread among the crowded population. After being closed for more than 5 months because of the coronavirus pandemic, Delhi Metro resumed services with curtailed operations. Commuters caution amid the new normal in the rapid transport system. Correspondent Ishan Garg visited the metro station and now reports.
This metro station is coming to life after almost 5 months. Pre-COVID, Delhi's metro would ferry around 4 million people every single day, but now the numbers are expected to be way less than that. For starters, only one part of Delhi's massive metro network is restarting. The remaining parts will start later in the week. Travel is permitted only for a few hours in the day, a 4-hour block each in the morning and in the evening. Automatic thermal scanners are placed at the platforms along with sanitizer dispensing machines. Passengers are expected to maintain social distancing and wear a mask at all times. They also have to leave a vacant seat between two travelers. But despite all the measures, some are still nervous.
Inside the metro also there is a social distancing. There's a gap between a seat and then they're sitting like that. So I guess relevant precautions are being taken. So it's... let's hope for the best.
So I think it's safe and I feel comfortable because it's up to you how you are taking precautions.
Almost always punctual and cutting through Delhi's heavy traffic, the metro is very popular among the city's middle class. But as cases of COVID-19 continue to soar, the risk of transmission in what's essentially a closed metal tube on wheels remains high. But the government says people must now learn to live with the virus. It wants to bring India's economic activity back to pre-COVID levels, and lifting restrictions on travel is an essential component of it. As people in Delhi return to what's being called the new normal, experts say the cases of COVID-19 will continue to rise, peaking in November. But with the metros starting, residents of New Delhi are hoping for safe travels.
The Open Russia opposition group's office in Moscow and the homes of several opposition activists running in local elections were raided by Russian police over the weekend. Kremlin has described the search operation as an act of intimidation. The Open Russia group is backed and financed by Kremlin critic Mikhail Khodorkovsky, who says the police searches were taking place as part of an old criminal investigation into Yukos, a defunct oil giant once owned by Khodorkovsky. Some opposition activists have joined forces to compete in local elections across Russia on Sunday as part of a group called the United Democrats, hoping to get a place in regional politics that is dominated by the United Russia ruling party. Up next, sports. Cristiano Ronaldo passes 100 goals for Portugal. Please stay with us.
You are watching ANN.
We are on the road every day, canvassing throughout Africa for news you really need. We follow this story everywhere, from every corner of Nigeria to the wide African expanse. We bring you what's making headlines. We connect you with news you can use. ANN, African News Network, in a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News in Sports. Portugal's Cristiano Ronaldo has become the first European to score 100 international goals in men's football. Iran's Ali Dia is the only man to score more international goals than Ronaldo. During his playing career from 1993 to 2006, Dia hit 109 goals. The next top-scoring current players are India's Sunil Chhetri with 72 and Argentina's Lionel Messi with 70. Pablo Bosta of Spain is now in the semi-final of the US Open after defeating Canada's Denis Shapovalov. The Spaniard will play fifth seed Alexander Zverev of Germany, who progressed to the semis earlier Tuesday for a place in Sunday's final. Shapovalov hit 11 double faults, while Carreno Busta had only one. That is ANN News this evening. Thank you for joining us. For details on these and other breaking stories, visit our website, annafrica.news. Conversation continues on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Have a pleasant evening.